Alright, so it's 5:20 in the morning, and I'm going to LVO. Here we go. And after that, I didn't record any more footage at LVO. Hey Vince, how'd LVO go? Pretty good. I managed to win LVO, guys, and had I known that I was going to do that the whole time, I would have definitely stuck to the blog thing that I had initially planned. And boy, I sure didn't stick to that. Dragged my camera all the way to Las Vegas only to record a mild intro for this video. Fun. Really crushing being a content creator over there. But thankfully, I've got some footage of the games, thanks to the Professional Casual Network, who really hooked me up with footage from their stream. You can check them out over on Twitch or on their YouTube. I'll link them down below. I have another video that talks about the list that I took and the reasons that I took it and the decisions I made about that. This video is more about the actual event. I don't have a structured script for this. I'm just going to kind of ramble and talk to you guys about some of my memories of the event and some of the fun things that happened. We got to the event and it was at the Rio in Las Vegas, which is like an off-strip, kind of like a cheaper casino. It was fine. I know a lot of people really complained about it. I didn't have any major issues, but it has all the same Vegas problems of like alcohol's way too expensive, stuff is way too expensive. It's a thing that exists to take your money. The food's pricey, but you can go nearby and get really reasonable stuff. So we did that a bunch. We also paid way too much for like tall boys and just like drank at the casino a bunch of times. But when we first got there, we got up to our room, which Nate booked. And we discovered this fun little feature where there was a window, I think I have a picture of it, I'll put it up if I do, where there was just like a window into the shower from where the beds were, from like the main room. You can just like look in and just check out anybody doing whatever in the bathroom. So that was fun. I'm so glad that Nate signed us up for the pervert room. That was fun. We got down there wasn't really anything going on Thursday. The convention's really a Friday, Saturday, Sunday deal, unlike, you know, like Adepticon, which is a full 4-day con. LVO is much more 3-day. On Friday I had the last chance qualifier, which is 5 rounds straight, no breaks, just hit it and go. And it went pretty well for me overall. I was on stream the very first game. I played Alyssa, who I think is tangentially attached to the Professional Casual Network, who were streaming it. A-Force is a really favorable matchup for S.H.I.E.L.D. I think just She-Hulk is really hard to play into S.H.I.E.L.D. It's tough to play any Hulk into a faction that is good at playing Helios Laser. And then on top of that, Def 3 physical in a big sack of hit points means every time I spike, they just take the damage. She-Hulk hates seeing S.H.I.E.L.D. And I pulled off one of the coolest feats ever in that game, where she like went to punch, I think, Nick or the Commandos or somebody, and I sacked it on to Hawkeye, and Hawkeye fast drew She-Hulk and killed her mid-activation, which is a super fun trick that I have a video about why Hawkeye has a bunch of dumb moves in S.H.I.E.L.D., and this is yet another one. Fast draw's a fun trick. I have a couple other games that I kind of want to talk through and talk about. My recollection here is not perfect. We're a couple days after the event and I'm back in Chicago. So if I get any of these things messed up, I apologize to the guys that I played the games against, but these are going to be, I think they're going to be pretty close via my recollection. So if I think about the hardest games I had Nate beat me in the LCQ. I thought I was playing a pretty good game. So obviously X-Men, terrible matchup for S.H.I.E.L.D. Cover everywhere. They're an extract faction that doesn't have to stand in the midline. What S.H.I.E.L.D. does is it shoots you with a lot of low power guns. Cover really dampens that, and then they're really good at threading the midline on turn 1, which X-Men don't have to stand on, and are really good at not standing on. I felt like I played that game aggressively and I was going really well, and then he had priority Storm activated, did 5 to Nick Fury and 3 to Dynamo. dazing both of them, just like at the top of the turn, through my def tech, through disruption field. And just like the game got super hard from there. And he managed to score out. Yeah. So, but thankfully that guaranteed me a spot into the next day. I got to play in the actual invitational, which was really fun. I wasn't wild about my round one matchup. I played against a Hydra player, and Hydra is a faction that Shield should stomp, but the problem is they have Sleeper Agent Hulk. Sleeper Agent Hulk is so effing good into Shield. The like Mystique leadership, or the Mystique shapeshifter type ability that Sleeper Agent gives you, and when you put it on a character like Hulk, it just like, it's so strong into me. Like, I use tactics cards and on your turn effects to keep my characters alive, and that ability says you can't do that. It's the point where when I play against Hydra, I don't even bring Brace, because the only people throwing anything is going to be Hulk, and I can't play it during Hulk's activation, and the plan can't be, I'm going to get to play this card when Hulk fails to kill something. He's not going to fail to kill something. That's not how Hulk goes. Or it's not like a great plan to like plan on Hulk failing to kill a thing when you can't use reactive powers. And my only way to deal with it is to get Hulk off the table, and to do that I have to keep giving him more dice and make him more efficient at hanging on to Sleeper Agent. So I don't play it into that. And I hit Hydra twice over the weekend, and neither of them played Sleeper Agent Hulk. And I guess I kind of chalk that up to just like the dark horse nature of Shield. Like Shield, like people don't know how to play against Shield. They don't have a lot of reps into it. And I don't think it's made a big impact on the community. And then to make matters worse, I think that how I play Shield is pretty unique. I think there's like kind of two schools. I think there's the people in the Alfredo's Taco Discord that have heard me talk about Shield a ton and how I think Shield should be played and just kind of defer to me. And then there are people that are doing the more, man, is there a way to say this without saying just like bad? But I think there's a lot of Shield players that are trying to play them in a more extract focused way rather than a Nick Fury leadership way, where you sit one behind and play attrition and try to get as many points out of leadership as possible, versus there are people that are trying to like grab extracts, go way up, do interrogate plays, which I just think are kind of like bad and not a strong way to play the faction. So I think as a result of that, a lot of people have written off Shield as a thing they had to practice for, and it's a hard thing to get practice into because there's not a ton of people playing it. So yeah, just kind of chalk up that first win into a player just like not knowing to play Sleeper Agent Hulk into me and just not knowing how good it is into me. One of the things that I think happened to give me a huge advantage going into that game is my opponent put Red Skull 2 up on midline too early, and I got a lot of shots off at him. And while most of them bounced, Bucky really popped off and just did like 5 damage with his 2 attacks into Red Skull, dazing him on turn 1. And then he activated Red Skull as first activation of turn 2, because I'm wider than him, so he gets to go first. And he, you know, spends for gauntlets, attacks Nick Fury. I iron this guy Nick Fury out. Spends for gauntlets, kills the grunts, just looking to hit the blitz and maybe get the grunts off the table so that Fury's power is lower. And he blitzes up, he hits the blitz, blitzes up to threaten Nick Fury, and then Bucky just guns him down from full. Which was wild and fun and put me at a huge, huge advantage. So game 1, pretty wild. I was not excited about my game 2 opponent, as it's Mike DeLuca. I think Mike DeLuca was one of the best players in the Invitational, and to make matters worse, he's playing Brotherhood, who I think are both the best faction in the game, and one of my bad matchups because of Magnetic Refraction. He gets priority, draws Scoundrels, and I draw Researcher. The only good part of this is that I can pick 20 threat, which means I can bring a super wide team, which is my best case scenario when it's very cover heavy. I can bring all of my tech for anti-cover. And to make matters worse, he's a smart enough guy to know that even though it's Scoundrels, he should bring Magnetic Refraction so that I can never ignore the cover. I can't just push him off of objectives and get cover out of there. I can't just get within, I can't just come stand on the points and ignore cover. I just gotta fight through it, or I have to bring pieces that ignore it. And what he kind of makes just like one major mistake in this game. On turn 1, he puts Rogue up early, and I'm able to get a bunch of shots on Rogue. I think I incinerate her. I put Nick Fury shots into her, and I put Dynamo shots into her, sit repping him up so he shoots her twice. So it's like a 4 reroll 1, a 5 pierce, a 5, a 5. And she's in cover for the vast majority of it. So it's not insane that I would daze Rogue there, but I don't think I do it most of the time. I think it's like kind of a 50-50 thing. And I get her, and he also put Sabretooth on the point just in case I dazed her. And as a result, Dynamo's beams also splash like 5 damage onto Sabretooth. This is Apex Predator. And he just gets kind of scared, like I'm just way up on attrition in a game where he's expecting to be up on attrition. And he goes, you know what? I'm a great scenario player. This is a pretty fast scenario researcher, and scoundrels, I'm just going to beat Vince on scenario. So he goes into that. The other factor that's going on in this game is that Mike's second activation was like 6 or 7 minutes long, and we're playing on 45-minute chess clocks. As we go into turn 2, he takes like another 6 or 7 minute activation, and I immediately go into kind of my old like Guild Ball, I hate how this sounds, but killer instincts, where I just like, okay, he's substantially down on clock. Normally in MCP, I think clock is just like a non-issue. I don't think I ever dropped below 10 minutes in like any of my games, and if I did, I was definitely ahead of my opponent when that happened. 45 minutes is forever to play Marvel. But when you take like 1 or 2 activations, which are like a full third of your time, it's no longer enough time. So I decide that I'm going to play the game to the maximum speed that I can, which is obviously an incredibly stressful way to play the game. But what this does is this continues to put the time pressure on him. He doesn't have time to sit back and think about his turn on my turn. And it is much easier for me to set up the traps than it is for him to play around them, because I've set them up like hundreds of times and he's played through them like 8 times, maybe. So I do that, and I make a game that ultimately probably wasn't that close feel very close and very stressful for me. Ultimately, he does this really great job of just like using constructs and model placement to make sure I can't get on the researcher. He does a great job of controlling Fury and killing the grunts so that Fury never can really unload into anyone, and also just can't, like one of the ways that Fury can win the researcher, if you're willing to put Fury at risk, is you just double walk Fury and spawn the grunts on it, and you have 2 healthy models on the researcher. Ultimately, just the scenario proves to just not be fast enough, and my attrition too hard. He eventually has to abandon everything but like the top left of the board from my perspective, and so he's just fighting over like the center scoundrel and the top left scoundrel and the researcher, and I'm able to just like wrestle those away from him eventually and kill enough of his stuff that, you know, like we kind of get it done. Also, I hit the Luke Cage stagger twice. There was like a turn where it was like I need to go put somebody on the researcher. I don't have enough activations left to win the researcher, but I have to like make him expend resources to win it. So I just like put Luke Cage up there, and I'm like, okay, Luke Cage is gonna get thrown off by Lizard, like whatever. And I just punched Magneto and I staggered Magneto. I was like, this one, great. Good job, boys. So I managed to pull that out. DeLuca is a great player. I think he just kind of made the wrong decision to not fight me. Like, it can be scary when you're that far down. You're like a days and a half down on attrition. But I think the correct thing was just to play attrition into me anyway. And then he hit shield next round and just crushed the guy because he just played attrition into the guy. After that, I played against Mandalorian Orange, Zach Cohen, his Guardians of the Galaxy. This would be my 5th time playing Zach in an event. I had never beat Zach up until this point, ever, and boy howdy did I pick a game to manage it. This game was definitely one of my toughest. I'm very happy he wasn't on Thanos, that he was on Hulk and Dynamo as his splashes, because they're just pieces that I deal with better as like the main plan for dealing with Thanos in S.H.I.E.L.D. is to race to Helios and Helios the front half of Thanos off, because once Portal is gone, S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't really scared of Thanos anymore. He just can't carry his weight by dazing 1 3-threat model a turn. But getting enough power to reliably Helios Thanos is difficult. But he goes up But he plays Dynamo, and Dynamo is also really good into shield because Shock is brutal when all of your attacks are 4 and 5 dice. So like Bucky shooting 3 dice rapid fires is just bad. So Shock is essentially just stagger into my faction. And then on top of that, the Disruption Field, re-rolling 2 of my successes. I'm rolling 4 dice. I probably only have 2 successes. So, Dynamo's really bad, and I focused him down as fast as I could. He got... my turn 2 was really brutal. I didn't activate the Commandos or Nick Fury because he dazed both of them, and then he also managed to daze Bucky kind of out of nowhere, thankfully after Bucky had activated. So I was just like way down on attrition early, but I managed to buckle down and really turn it around. I think the really key thing that happened was I like so I had my big turn where I managed to kind of turn the game back to even, but he's still sitting on Follow Me, and Groot goes, I think he has 2 hit points left, heals up to 5, and kills like, I think it's maybe Bullseye, and I get my double got your backs, and I kill Groot from 5 with double got your backs, which prevents him from playing Follow Me into Rocket, which would have wildly impacted how much he got to do, and it also meant that I got to take Rocket off the table for free, because Groot's dead now. And just shooting, ignoring cover stuff into him kills him. I had another one of those fun shield plays where like he was activating 1 hit point Quicksilver, attacked the Commandos, I sacked it onto Bullseye. He fails to kill Bullseye with his 4 die strike, so I am going to Parting Shot and just kill him. But he hits his like move and get extra attacks trigger, which he can keep doing infinitely potentially. And I end this guy out of that to like end the stack and just deal the 1 damage. Like, here's an action, take 1, you're dead. Moving on to my next thing. So like denying Follow Me to Guardians was a big deal, and I managed to scrape that one out despite being really far behind on turn 2. My game immediately after that is into Guardians again. I think we end up on like 20, and I'm able to kind of use... The thing that I remember mattered the most about this game, it was like Skrulls Gamma. I end up committing to fighting one of the Skrulls with Black Widow, and he matches it with Gamora. And Widow is just able to like keep Gamora out of the fight for like 3 turns. Like, I don't think she rejoins and punches any of my other models that aren't Black Widow until turn 4. And just like that trade is just so good for me. Even though like I think I only scored the Skrull once out of those, I did a bunch of damage to her healthy side, and it just like kept her over out of the fight with a 2 threat, making one of his most deadly 4 threats into me just like not matter. And then I just like won the middle fight. Then I go into Wreath. This is another stream game, which I may have clips from, which are from the Professional Casual Network. Again, you can go check it out there or on the Twitch or on their YouTube channel, but it'll be linked and you can watch that game. So this is Wreath. Wreath is a practice partner of Morgan Reed. Morgan Reed is like largely considered one of the best Marvel Crisis Protocol players ever. Wreath made top 4. Making top 4 in this event is very difficult. He's a good player. He's doing kind of a weird build of Hydra where he's using Red Skull's leadership to kind of fuel up extract stealing stuff. Like he's using it to get like lots of power on Black Cat and steal stuff with Black Cat, which is interesting and like not what I expected, because I expected Sleeper Cell Hulk, because Sleeper Cell Hulk's a effing nightmare for S.H.I.E.L.D. And I just think that it's really difficult to play Red Skull 2 into S.H.I.E.L.D. because we're just going to go through his physical defense. So we don't have throws, so he manages to stay in energy form the entire time. But we're going to incinerate him, and we're just going to shoot his physical defense. And we're just going to try to go through him that way. And him not having any action compression means that, like, Eye in the Sky is just really good against him. So the way the game kind of plays out, he uses Red Skull's, like, Cut for Power and Eyes on the Prize to, like, get a hammer and back up to safety, and Red Skull would never make an attack the entire game. He, like, I was able to get a beat on him with Bucky with Hydra Tactics and just like blast him down. Bucky with a hammer is a dumb model. Bucky normally is a dumb model. You put a hammer on him, he gets absolutely stupid. So he like gunned down Skull, who had taken damage from cutting himself. The following turn, I push up aggressively with Nick to try to like end Skull. Like my plan is to like get Skull off the table and go after that hammer that's right there and just kind of like win that side. And instead of going with Skull and just kind of taking a mediocre activation, you know, like trying to hit Fury, Fury leaving, and then walking up and punching Fury again, he instead goes with Bob and positions Bob in a way where he can shoot the rocket. The rocket will be guaranteed to throw Bob backwards and hit the grunts. And eye in the sky, there's a line that I was like, oh, maybe this will get me out of line of sight, and then Bob will be really hosed. But even if it doesn't, it'll give me cover. So I get cover from Bob. I don't manage to get out of eye in the sky. Bob gets thrown back, kills the grunts, doesn't kill Fury, who's at full health in cover, and the splash damage does 2 to Red Skull, which means that I'm like guaranteed to kill Red Skull with Fury's activation, and in fact I do it with the very first attack. And with that, Skull's off the table, and I'm just way, way up. The rest of this game is like pretty elementary from here. Zemo goes on quite a run. Like he gets really, like his dice go like, his dice pop off the way that like my Bucky's dice popped off. And he kills like 2 or 3 things, but it's just like too late. And I'm able to win. And then we have the finals, and good lord, did the professional casual stream like really win out with this game. Like what a close game. Andrew's, you're right, it's Andrew, yeah. Andrew's obviously a very good player, playing incredibly well. He played an Avengers team, he played a super KG Hulk with Juggernaut. Like, he knew to play double big boy and a shield, because shield can kill 1 big boy kind of trivially, but 2 makes the whole thing kind of tough. The Sam leadership can make it really hard to keep my conditions on models. And then he stacked that up with Heroes for Hire and Luke Cage, meaning that I had to fight through that before Helios could ever be online. This game is like kind of weird because of like my deployment and the kind of the points we're playing at. Bucky picks up a spider infected, which you hate to do. Like you want to get Gotcha back online as soon as you can. Bucky does not manage to do damage until turn 4. So on turn 1, he like grabbed the thing, wasn't able to make attacks. On turn 2, shot, no damage, no rapid fire. Shot, no damage, no rapid fire. Okay. Now going to turn 3, now he's got 2 power. Shoot, no damage, no rapid fire. Shoot, no damage, no rapid fire. So pretty brutal. Thankfully though, Crimson Dynamo is busy over here being an absolute beast, beaming 2 or 3 people and rolling like 3 or 4 hits on every single attack. And just like, just lasering his team down, shocking everyone, really reducing the damage coming in. The game spins down. I get Luke Cage off the battlefield. I have kind of damage sprinkled on everybody, because he's playing his Hulk very cagey, and I kind of have to just take my shots where I can get them. I feel really good about it, and then Hulk is able to, like, Avengers Assemble leap and kill Dynamo from full after Dynamo had flipped. Through Disruption Field, through shock. Or maybe he didn't have shock, maybe he cleared it with leadership. But he's able to kill Dynamo, which is really brutal because Dynamo's sitting on 10 power, and it means that the Helios I have instantly kills Hulk. Like, trivially. But without that, I'm kind of in a tough spot where I don't reliably kill Hulk. So the game boils down to a moment where I have to just like empty my pockets and shoot a Helios. And I only have 18 power, which means it's a 20 die Helios. I need to do 7 to Hulk, or I essentially lose the game. If Hulk gets to activate again, I don't think there's a world where I get to win the game. So I run the math. I have a dice calculator for Helios that I twisted Pat's arm into building. We are working on getting it running for the community, and that is the plan, but unfortunately right now like 5 people get on the website and it like ceases to function. So at some point it will have better stability and we'll get it to you. So I run the math on the calculator, and the math is essentially if I don't hit the wild, I'm 75% to kill Hulk. If I do hit it, I'm 85% to kill Hulk, which means, and the likelihood of rolling a single wild on 20 dice is pretty high. So it means that I'm probably like 84 to kill Hulk. So I'm like, well, I've never had an 84% chance to win a convention ever. We're going to put it on this. And I'm sitting there like whinging about whether or not I'm going to spawn the grunts and do an 18 dice because it doesn't affect the thing a ton. And I'm like, you know, just don't get greedy. Just spend all of it. So I dump all of it. and we do our initial rolls, and he's...
Guys, here it is. As long as he gets one wild,
look at all those dice. I can't even count those. Wow, an incredible defense on Hulk too.
A bunch of skulls and
2,
blocks,
4, 6.
Got a block and 2 crits. And I look at my roll, like, it's a ton of dice, but I can tell it's not terribly good. It ends up being 9 with 2 crits, which is like way below average. Thankfully, I pick up the 2 crits and I roll them in, and I pick up the 2 crits, giving me 11. And then he rolls his 2 crits and picks up both of his. So he has 5 blocks on 3 dice, which is 6 damage, which with 11 hits on my side is 6 damage. But thankfully I hit the wild, which means I get an auto point on Hulk and I kill him exactly to like kind of pull the game in home. Holy moly, it was a close game. I just barely pull it out, and I couldn't be happier. It's weird. Like, I've always been kind of a person that in this hobby that has been like seeking for success on a major stage and just kind of always falling short of it, whether it be Guild Ball, where I didn't podium at Worlds, but only lost to the winner. I didn't, we just missed podiuming at World Team Champs, and I didn't podium at Second Wind in this. I like lost at Adepticon through some misunderstandings, and finally to have not just a top 4 finish, but a top 3 finish, but to actually win a convention. It feels great. I'm pretty excited about it. You should definitely check out the podcast. We're 100% going to talk about this as well. And I don't know, it was a great weekend, I think. Omnis crushed it. I think Tyson crushed it. All of my opponents were fantastic across the board. Like, really, really absolute champs about everything. And even when my dice spiked, like, weren't rude about it or weren't whiny about it. And I thought just everybody was truly fantastic. Oh, and then to cap off the weekend, so if you want to follow the complete thread of the Alfredo's boys, Pat didn't quite qualify. He went 3-2. Nate did qualify with his best record at the LCQ and lost in round 2. I'm not sure who he lost to. You'll have to check the podcast to find that out. Both of them dropped to play in the team tournament on Sunday, and they picked up Jacob Frelinger, and they won the whole team tournament. So not only did I manage to win the qualifier, they managed to win the team tournament. So frickin' Alfredo's swept the event. King of LVO, Alfredo. Woo! So yeah, that's LVO. Guys, if you enjoyed me talking about my winning LVO list, hit the like button down below. It helps the video find other people. Hit subscribe if you just found me so that you can, know the other videos that I put out. And don't forget that fun is a finite resource.